and welcome to another grammar lesson here at Bernie's English. I'm Bernie and today we're at the different ways of asking questions, of forming questions, and when to use or not to use this little word do or does or did that gives a lot of people some problems, I would say. So, let's start. How are you today? Are you feeling fine? I sure hope so. Do you speak English? Well, I guess you do. How long have you been learning English? Quite some time? And are you confident when it comes to asking questions? Well, we will find out. I asked you a lot of questions just now, and if you listened carefully, you may have seen that sometimes I used do, sometimes I used are, and sometimes I even used have to form my questions. All those words, when we speak about questions, are auxiliary verbs. We need them because they help us to form the question. Without an auxiliary verb, we cannot ask a question. We cannot make a question in English. Now, if you want to know the grammar behind questions, what you need to know first is that there are 4 groups of auxiliary verbs. And very importantly, you cannot mix those groups. You can have either group number 1, group number 2, group number 3, or group number 4, but you cannot mix the 4 groups. Let's look at this in a little more detail. The first group of auxiliary verbs is to be. Now, this group includes the verbs am, is, are, or in the past tense, was, or were. So if we want to form a question that includes one of those words, am, is, are, was, or were, we need to use this word in the beginning of the question to make the question, to form the question. Let's look at an example. She is in Spain. She's in Spain, yes? She is in Spain. We have the verb is, which is one of the verbs that belong to the group to be. Normally, you wouldn't say she is in Spain, you would say she's in Spain. But this doesn't matter, the verb doesn't change, it still is. Now, if we want to make a question out of this sentence, she's in Spain, she is in Spain, what we simply do is turn around the first 2 parts of the sentence. We put the verb is in front of the subject she to form the question. So what we do is, instead of she is in Spain, we ask, is she in Spain? Is she in Spain? Note, when you say this quickly, you cannot hear is she, you say is she. Is she in Spain? Or, if we want to use a question word, an interrogative pronoun, we would ask, where is she? And the answer is, of course, in Spain. So, when we have a form of the verb to be in our sentence, and we want to make a question, all we do is simply turn around the subject and the verb. She is in Spain. Is she in Spain? Where is she in Spain? So, we have seen how to make questions that use the verb to be. We follow exactly the same steps when we sentence in our question. And what is a modal verb? Modal verbs are special verbs. You may have learned about them in another context. And the most important modal verbs are can, could, should, will, for the will future is also included. And then there are others like might, may, must, shall, and I think those are all. Now, if we want to form a question with a modal verb, what we need to do is follow the same steps as for questions with the verb to be. So, if we have the sentence, they will come later, or in the contracted form, simply, they'll come later, they'll come later, then the question is formed by turning around the subject and the verb, the modal verb, mind you. So, the question for they'll come later is, will they come later? Will they come later? You see, as with the verb to be, all we need to do is turn around the subject and the verb. Of course, again, we can also ask a question using a question word, an interrogative pronoun, if we want to know more information. For instance, when will they come? When will they come? Right. So far, we have seen how to make questions using the verb to be and how to make questions using a modal verb. We can also form questions in the present perfect or the past perfect following exactly the same procedure. So, what is the present perfect? And what is the past perfect? The present perfect and the past perfect, grammatically, is formed with have, has, or for the past perfect, had, and the past participle, the third verb form. So, for example, we have won the prize. Yay! We have won the prize. We are the winners. How do we make a question? Well, I said we follow the same steps as for questions with to be and for questions with modal verbs. So, we turn around the first two parts of the sentence. We switch the verb have with the subject, we. We have won the prize, and the question is, have we won the prize? Have we won the prize? Really? Great. Right. Of course, we can again also use an interrogative pronoun. We can, of course, also use a question word if we want to know more information, specific information. The prize. What is the prize? What have we won? What have we won? Right. Now, you will have noticed that so far, for all those questions, we have never used the word do or does or did. We haven't needed it so far. We don't need the word do or does or did when we have any form of the verb to be. So when we have a sentence or a question with the verb am, is, are, was or were. And we never use the verb do for the question, or does or did, if we have a modal verb, for example, can, could, should, will. And we never need a do, does or did as an auxiliary verb when we have a question in the present perfect. The present perfect, remember, is formed with the verb have, has or had, and the third verb form, the past participle. So when do we need the verb do to ask a question? Why do we even use the verb do? We haven't used it so far. Well, simple. In the beginning, I told you that you cannot mix these auxiliary verbs. You can only use an auxiliary verb from one group. You can either have to be, or you can have a modal verb, or you can have the present perfect. And if you don't have to be in your sentence, if you don't need a modal verb in your sentence, and if you are not forming a question in the present perfect using have, has or had and the past participle, only then you must use do, does or did to form your question. So, in other words, and to put it more simply, we only need do, does or did in questions when we are using the present simple or the past simple tense, and when we do not have the verb to be in our sentence. Let's have a look at this in practice. Now, we have the sentence, she lives in Malta. Have you been to Malta? You should definitely go. I also teach in Malta in school. If you want more information, go to my website. So she lives in Malta. How do we make a question out of this? Lives she in Malta? No, please don't. Is she live in Malta? No, we don't need is. Has she live in Malta? No, we're not talking in the present perfect. We are talking in the present simple tense. And in the present simple tense, if we want to make a question, we need the auxiliary verb do or does. Now, she is a third person. Remember, there is the rule he, she, it. always use an S at the end of the verb. So we need the auxiliary verb does. Our question starts with, does she? And what do we do now? The original sentence is, she lives in Malta. He, she, it, third person S. She lives in Malta. But we have already used this S in the auxiliary verb does. So we no longer need it. It's already been put here. So what we do is we ask the question, does she live in Malta? When we pose a question in the present simple using the auxiliary verb does, we never put an S at the end of the main verb. The S goes from here to there. In other words, the main verb is always left in the infinitive. Right. So, she lives in Malta. Does she live in Malta? And if we want to know more, if we're asking for specific information, we could ask, where does she live? Where does she live? Pretty easy, actually. Now, probably she no longer lives in Malta. She moved to another country. She moved to Spain. I love Spain. I would love to live in Spain. Maybe she would too. So, let's imagine she has moved on. She lives in Spain now, but 3 years ago, she lived in Malta. She lived in Malta. This is the past simple. How do we form a question in the past simple? Well, we follow the same structure as for questions in the present simple. She lived in Malta. Now we need to use the verb, the auxiliary verb, did, because this is 3 years ago already. So, we say, did she live in Malta? Again, note that we use the infinitive for the main verb because the past tense is already covered in our auxiliary verb. We cannot say, did she lived in Malta? This is completely impossible. And we cannot say, does she lived in Malta? No, we have to use did because it's in the past. And if we already use the past tense here, we do not use the past tense there. So, did she live in Malta? If we want to ask for specific information, we can use an auxiliary verb. We can use an interrogative pronoun. We can use a question word again. Where did she live? Where did she live? In Malta and Slima, to be exact. But she moved away to Spain. Where did she move? She moved to the south of Spain. Lovely. Right. So, let's do a quick recap of the rules how to form questions in English. Remember that we have 4 groups of auxiliary verbs. We always need an auxiliary verb to form a question in English. and we can never mix the groups. So you can only use either to be, am, is, are, was, were, or you can use a modal verb, for example, can, could, should, will, or you can form a question in the present perfect with have, has, or had, that would be the past perfect, and the third verb form. And only if you do not have a form of to be, if you do not have a modal verb, and if you do not have the present perfect or the past perfect in your question, only then you must use do, does, or did to form your question. When you use, or when you have a question using do, does, or did, you have to put the main verb into the infinitive. So no s in the main verb and no past tense in the main verb. Because the s or the past tense can already be found in the does or in the did, in the auxiliary verb. For all those questions, you can use interrogative pronouns in the beginning, and it doesn't matter which auxiliary verb you use, which group you're in. When you have an interrogative pronoun, if you have a question word, it always comes in the beginning, and then the structure of the sentence is the same, the structure of the question is the same, as if you have no auxiliary verb. So, questions with to be. She's in Spain. She is in Spain. Turn around, she and is. Is she in Spain? Or where is she? In Spain. Questions with modal verbs. They'll come later, or they will come later. Turn around, they and will. Will they come later? When will they come? Questions in the present perfect or past perfect using have, has, or had, and the past participle, the third verb form. We've won the prize. We have won the prize. Turn around, we and have. Have we won the prize? What have we won? And finally, questions with do, does, or did. She lived in Malta. She lived in Malta. Did she live in Malta? Where did she live? Or in the present tense, she lives in Malta. Does she live in Malta? Where does she live? Right. That's it for today. I hope you learned something new or something interesting, or I could help you forming questions. And if you want to practice forming questions, if you want to practice this grammar point, go to my website, berniesenglish.com, where you will find some practice material, and you can also find some exercises using pop music, using songs there. For the questions, there is a special song. There is the song Don't You Love Me Anymore. And yeah, if you want to try that out, you can learn some English with music. Just go to my website, berniesenglish.com, to find out more. If you enjoyed this lesson, if you found it useful, and if you would like to see more such grammar lessons, Please feel free to go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, like the video, and also share with your friends. I'd be very happy about that. So, hope to see you again soon. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.